This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Joe Castello with you. WFO Radio is on the air. If you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, you're on Twitter, share the show, retweet, start a watch party, because we have got the first NHRA Mellow Yellow Series results that we have had since Arizona, baby. Talking about big show, nitro cars out there at Lucas Oil Raceway. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, was there, and we are going to tap into Alan. Now, this is what the WFO show is all about. You've heard we've been podcasting for over 10 years, and even prior to that on XM Satellite Radio. And what was the show? This is pretty much it. Alan coming on, expert analysis, what he saw, what happened. I usually, give my thoughts. This particular event, I was not on the property, but I was experiencing it on NHRA.TV and then the Fox broadcast. And so I've got some insights from afar, and we will have that conversation on the show. What's different now on Facebook and YouTube is that you are all welcome to chime in with your questions and your thoughts and analysis of what went on, and we'll choose to put them up or not on the show and see what happens and where it goes. A new era, if you will, of WFO Radio, as we are still going live with the winter views and Alan Reinhart's segment. 4 p.m. on Tuesday. 4 p.m. on Tuesday, we will have Matt Hagan and Jason Line. Jason Line picking up a win like 17 straight years. That is amazing. And Matt Hagan, the only DSR driver, funny car driver that we did not have on the show on Friday, he goes out and wins the race. Like the odds, man. We had everybody but him, and he won the race. So what does that say? We did have Tommy Johnson and, Caps, obviously, Beckman. TJ went to the final round, but Hagan ultimately gets the win, and he's still jacked, obviously been working out during the offseason. Billy Torrance and Flying Ryan Ayler. Great to see Flying Ryan get a win. That shows that hard work pays off. We're going to delve into all of it, but first I want to name check the sponsors, the people who make it all possible. Talking about folks like samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. All you young people out there, you kids out there, if you're thinking about a career in motorsports, whether it be as a machine shop employee, a machinist, or as a crew chief, Samtech can get you started and get you that foundational knowledge that you need. But maybe you don't like racing at all. You want to be a CNC programmer. You can do that too. You can work at Boeing or one of the aerospace companies. They help place their graduates with companies that they know are going to go a long way. So go to samtech.edu to find out more information. And I want to let everybody know we just dropped a brand new episode of Factory Stock Podcast. It's up on SoundCloud as we speak, and working its way through the RSS feeds on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your podcasts. And we got Drew Skillman, who attacks Bo Butner viciously immediately. He's like, yeah, the real reason I'm here. And it's great to hear Drew and Mark Powick and Scott Libisher, how they used the off time and what they expect out of this weekend's race, the Lucas Oil Summer Nationals. So fans of Factory Stock and Samtech, rush over to SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcast, and check out that podcast after we are done here today. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. They are still building the next generation of champions with their school, whether it be Top Alcohol, Funny Car, Alcohol Car License, or the Dragster Adventure, which will get going again. They do have smaller class sizes right now for those that want a super gas license. Maybe you're a bracket racer that wants to get better, but go to frankhawley.com to find out more information. Also, Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology from stock eliminator to Formula One. The rings are thinner, they make more power, you get better ring seal, and it's because of the technology that they are using. If you want to find out more, you can check out our Hidden Horsepower podcast, but really what they always say is give them a call. Whatever project you're working on, just give them a call, even in advance. I'm thinking about doing something for a top dragster, and I really don't know what I'm going to do. A call to Total Seal in advance can actually save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and get you on the right track. Go to TotalSeal.com to find out more information. And, of course, Marvin Rodak, grinding up that coffee, roasting that coffee, fresh per your order, hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good. Marvin, drag racer, drag racing fan. I know he was loving life this past weekend watching NHRA.TV, roasting up that coffee, and I start every day with a little Rodak's coffeeandgrills.com. Another quick reminder, if you want some free WFO radio stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. Self-addressed stamped envelope, care of Castello Media WFO stickers. And I'll send you a sticker kit with like 4 and 4, new school, old school mix. Speaking of new school and old school. Let's bring on the man who called the action out there at Lucas Oil Raceway. And I'm very interested to hear about his experience. And I did get a spy report that he was out there wearing his WFO radio mask. The mask came into use. I'm happy you were able to use it.
Well, yeah, it's
there it is. There it is. Where's mine? Oh, it's in the wash. I'm glad.
Came in very handy. I got to tell you, I was chuckling when you brought me into the studio because when you said, hey, new school, old school, I thought, oh, here we go. We got new school, we got old school. Let's go back to the school of dinosaur times and hear from Reinhart.
No, I'm a nice person, Alan. I don't do that stuff in front of you.
All right. Oh, not in front of me?
Exactly. Exactly. So, okay, we're going to talk results, but I want to know, like, your perspective on the vibe. We texted a little bit, and you used the word it's different. And so my view on NHRA.TV and the Fox show, and I'm studying the background, and like, is the guy far off in the distance in the background? Is that guy wearing a mask? And he was. I thought the visual presentation to maybe non-fans who are monitoring to see what we were doing, to see if we did a good job, I thought that went well from my perspective. What about being on the property?
Yeah, I would agree. All of the teams, all of the participants were told basically, hey, look, these are the rules. If you want to come race, this is what you got to do. You've got to wear a mask when you're on the property. Obviously when you're in your motorhome or, the guys were taking them off then. But if they were out working on the cars, certainly when they were on the starting line, they were wearing. The fans were for the most part as well. There were a few of them that were sitting in the grandstand taking them off. But for the most part, the fans were all masked up because they were told basically the same thing. And I think everybody understood exactly what we were doing. We had a small number of fans, much fewer than what we were allowed. But Casey Kohler, who runs the racetrack, and NHRA made the decision that we wanted to go in small. And we wanted to make sure that, everybody understood the rules. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. And everybody did for the most part. I think everybody understood that, hey, if we screw this up, it would be very easy for the governor of Indiana or Hendrick County, health department to go, okay, guys, we gave you a chance. You didn't do it. You can't do this anymore. And I also am absolutely sure that other people were watching, whether it's the people in Denver, whether it's the people in Brainerd, whether it's the people in Topeka, that officials were watching to see what NHRA was doing. We were putting fans in the stands, not a lot, but we did have some. They followed the rules. I think everybody was pretty good about that. It was, fortunately, it was warm, but it wasn't miserable. So, I think that helped a little bit as far as, everybody wearing masks and not just being completely miserable out there. But I think everybody was like me. Everybody I talked to is exactly the same thing. We just want to go back to work. If this is what it takes, if this is the new rules, if this is fine, we will adapt to that. But we want to go back to work. And I think it went well. It's kind of strange that, race control, for instance, was basically locked down. There was nobody in race control that wasn't specifically there to run the race. If a sponsor rep had a note for you, I mean, how many times somebody come in and go, hey, Joe, here's my notes for the weekend. Here's my stuff. Not happening. You can email them, you can text them, whatever, but they were not allowed to come into the tower, into race control. And so it was a little different, but we got through it. I think, everybody I've talked to has been pretty happy. Certainly there are some adjustments that we're going to hopefully make this week before we, when we go back this weekend. But for what we were trying to do, I think it was a tremendous success. We got cars back on track. We put on a good show. The racing was incredible. The fans understood that they needed to play their part as well to help make this whole thing happen. They did. I didn't hear of any real issues or any big problems, so I think that's a good thing. We ran a safe race. Nobody got hurt. Nothing silly happened, and it finished on time. So all was well. Mother Nature, and I actually said it on Friday night when we're running the second qualifying session. We have 2 top fuel cars to complete the session. They burn out, they back up, it starts raining, and we had to shut them off. And it's like, we waited 139 days to get back on racetrack, and Mother Nature wouldn't give us 30 more seconds. In 30 seconds, those 2 cars would be to the finish line. Rain like hell, I don't care. Yeah. But 30 more seconds. But, so Clay Milliken and Tony Schumacher did not get their final qualifying run. They were both in the field. They were both safely in the field, but they didn't get their last run. And other than that, I think it went very well. The Jeg Super Quick cars, man, what incredible competition those guys and gals put on. And we ran top dragster and top sportsman, so it was a pretty limited menu as far as competition. But everybody did a good job. The racing was good, the weather was good, and I think from every report I heard, everybody was happy. So hopefully we can take that as a first step, and we now move forward, and hopefully on a bigger and better.
Exactly. And as simple as that, everybody likes a streak, Alan, and Mon Nature has got all 3 in a row rain affected races. Pomona, Arizona, and now Indy have just a touch of rain somewhere, just so we remember Mon Nature's in control. But if that had to be the bummer of the weekend, I'm all for it. We lost a pair. They were both already qualified, and we moved on to eliminations. Got some people checking in. Craig Garland out there. Danny is out there. Jim is out there. We'll ask some questions. Mike Heiner is out there. It all went well. Can't complain. Glad to be back racing. Simple as that. And I felt it. I could hear disappointment in your voice when the rain came down, but I could hear intensity with everybody else. Like, man, you could feel like, all right, if this is what we got to do the right thing, to get back going, we're willing to do it.
It's interesting, the rain, and obviously Mother Nature has been messing with NASCAR too. If you follow NASCAR, you know that they have just had headache after headache with Mother Nature since they got back to racing. But it was just you could see it coming. The clouds were kind of rolling in, and everybody's looking at their phone, and we're going, okay, well, it's going north. It's getting darker, but it's going to be okay. The weather was changing in a hurry. The funny cars, if you look at funny car qualifying, it was your typical hot weather funny car qualifying session. There were only 2 cars that ran in the 3s in qualifying. I think those were both the first session. But they were running 4.0s, basically low 14s was kind of the order of the day. And then once top fuel started and the clouds rolled in, the track temperature dropped about 14 degrees in like 10 minutes. The air was changing 100 miles an hour, and all of a sudden top fuel was fun. The number 1 qualifier in funny car after the first session was Tommy Johnson, and he stayed number 1 in funny car through the whole session. The number 1 qualifier in top fuel was Clay Milliken, and by the time he ran, he was 6th because the conditions were better. Everybody was bumping up, and of course, the anticipation to see, could Clay go back to the number 1 spot, or what a story it would have been if Tony Schumacher comes back for the first time in quite some time, and he goes to actually just real quick, funny Tony Schumacher note. DSR had a small press event in their hospitality area where they had, members of the media from local, and of course everybody sitting 6 feet apart, a normal deal. And we get the drivers over there, and so I'm chit-chatting. I hosted the thing, and I'm chit-chatting with, tell us a little bit about your off season. And Tommy Johnson, of course, we kind of set the all-time beard record, and Leah's been out in Arizona racing her Can-Am car through the desert, staying sharp, and she's been running like 100 miles a week. I don't want to drive 100 miles a week, but she's been running 100 miles a week. Matt obviously was working. Tony's been working out. We're going through the whole thing. But I got to Tony and I said, man, for you, I said, it's been a while. You must be happy to be back. And he said, 1 year, 7 months, 29 days. Not that I'm counting.
Wow.
And I went, what? So, and, it just, if he makes that last run, and if he potentially goes to the top, which certainly, he's driving a Brian Karate tuned car, right? So who knows? But we never got a chance to find out. Anyway, it was, it went well, and that was really the only big delay or big issue that we had to deal with all weekend. So, for the first time back in a while, I'll take it.
There you go. Kathy is out there, says, great to hear your voice on the PA, watched on NHRA.TV. Awesome to have you back and, knocking the rust off a little bit. That is good stuff. We got some fans out there from the UK. They got back to championship racing in August. Malta drag racing this weekend. Everyone needs drag racing, says Kev from across the pond. And here's one. It felt good to see NHRA of all sports and to have fans to set an example. Very happy to hear things went well. Hopefully that will continue. It definitely was nice to have racing back. What about the 9 a.m. Top Fuel start? It's nice to roll out of bed and just put on NHRA.TV and be entertained. What was it like being there for that? And the neighbors, what do the neighbors think?
Joe, you know me. I'm always at the racetrack pretty early anyway, so it's not like it changed my wake-up call.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. It was good to be on track early. One of the little glitches and typical thing when we're doing something for the first time and things are changing, NHRA.TV normally goes up at like 10:30 on a Sunday morning because we basically pick up, just somewhere in the vicinity of the start of pre-race and then roll into the rest of the day. And the countdown timer that comes up on the screen is automated. and nobody thought to change it.
Ah.
So at 8:45, people are tuning in and finding a counter that says show starts in 2.5 hours, and they were freaking out.
Uh-huh.
But we did start on time. I mean, the NHRA TV was up by the time we ran the first fair, so you didn't miss anything. But there was just a panic moment because that's one of the things that nobody thought, hey, we need to change the countdown timer for Sunday because it's just always the same. So that was just, one of the little glitches. There was a lot of little things that we kind of ran across during the course of the weekend, and especially because we didn't have the normal full staff that we have, for obvious reasons. I mean, the budget being one of them, the number of people you want to cram into space is one of them. And with everybody trying to social distance, the TV truck, and I never went in there, I wasn't allowed. But the meetings that we were having and the conference calls and stuff leading up to it, it's like, okay, normally you've been in the TV truck, right? There's 10 people in this bigger room.
Yes.
Well, couldn't have 10 people in there anymore. So how are we going to do this with 5 or with 4? And do we need to put up partitions? And what do we need to do? So there was a lot of that stuff going on. And then, there was a lot of stuff that was learned. You look at this and you go, okay, we thought of this, we thought of this, we thought of this. And then you get there and go, oh, I never thought of that. So, I think some of the production, some of the stuff this weekend is going to be better just simply because we learned so much from the first weekend, which again, a big part of the reason that we didn't want to do a 600 car full production with it. Let's get out there. Let's start small. Let's figure out where the bugs are. Let's fix the bugs. Let's move forward.
Now, great job. That's the way you do it. And if the drag racers, if some group is going to help solve this problem, figure out how to do it, I really believe the drag racers, people who cause themselves challenges to overcome as a hobby, will figure out the best way to do this. And they'll put their minds to it. And like you said, there's no way to be totally prepared for everything that's going to come at you when you don't know what that's going to be. You do your best, you get out there, you try it, and then you come back and you take another hit and try again. All right, let's talk results. Did you have something? You got the look like you maybe got something. I'm starting to read.
One of my goals, and speaking with Josh Peterson, the vice president of competition earlier in the weekend, and one of my goals for him, and I said, every day when we get here to start, I'm trying to come up with something that Evan has to be made aware of, because Evan, who Joe knows, it's Joe and my boss. He's the vice president of events, in charge of everything in the stadium, not race related, because he wasn't there. So if I have an excuse to make his phone ring at 5:30 a.m. in California, just to go, hey, Evan, I don't know if you thought of this or not. And
I was burning his phone up too, man. I had a couple of things. I was like, I think that maybe. So good. That was good. Hey, listen, he's a very committed guy and responsible for a lot of the show that people like out there. So, got to get him back as well. Yeah, but that just goes to show you the limited staff, right? Like people have been asking me, like, why aren't you there? It's like, if Evan's not there, that means that's the show, crowd, the event, all that. That's very limited. And the folks on the property handled it. So
exactly. And there was just so much stuff like, the way that NHRA on Fox was doing the interviews and the way that they were doing this stuff, they're figuring this out. Once they get, okay, this procedure works, this is something we can deal with, this is something the drivers are comfortable with, then I think we'll expand a little bit on our side as well. But, the routine. You lived at the top end of the racetrack for so long. Everybody's kind of got the routine. We do this, we do this, we do this. Well, it was all going to be different now. And so it was just easier to be different doing one thing than to try to be different doing everything. Let's figure this out, and then we can go ahead and expand on that. And it was strange when it's like, okay, we're going to scrape the starting line, we're going to do this, we're going to have 12 minutes before we fire the next pair. All right, and nobody to shoot T-shirts and nobody to go play games and nobody. But again, we also had a very small number of fans. We had some feature stuff that was loaded up that we either played video on NHRA.tv or audio in the stadium. And we got through it, but we learned, and when we will expand from now. We needed to get back on track, and that's what we did, and then we'll expand from here.
All right, let's talk Top Fuel. I'm trying this out. We'll see how it works here, Alan. In that I got the ladder up on the screen. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but Billy Torrance picks up the win, and it's Billy in the final round against Doug Coletta. Doug looking strong at the start of the season. But Steve Torrance, number one qualifier, is able to get to the semis where his dad bounces him out as he was, a little short wick there. Give me some thoughts in that. Doug Coletta is still the story of the season. Like they were able to maintain another solid, strong performance. We may recall Steve skipped that race early in the season, and now his dad goes on and gets a victory. We're going to hear from Billy on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Antron Brown, that car looked like it's come back. But generally, I felt like it was a very entertaining day of drag racing. Some close races, some great battles. What are your observations?
I would agree exactly with what you said. I think that, it was a tremendous day. The second round of Nitro racing, both funny car and top fuel, was just one for the ages. It was one of those where you sit there and it's like, wow, that was a great race. What's going to happen next? Wow, that was another great race. What's going to, and just time after time. The second round, Doug Coletta and Leah leaves first, runs 381 and loses to a 380. I mean, from a what's a girl got to do thing, right?
Yeah.
But it was just that kind of deal. But no, it was tremendous racing. I think Doug Coletta, Doug Coletta needs to figure out how to go into the pipeline business and just run Billy out of town. That's what he needs to do. Because 3 races into the season, Doug has been to 3 final rounds. He has not been beaten except by a Capco car. He lost to Steve in Phoenix. He lost to Billy in Indy. And he won Pomona. So if he can figure out a way to stop the Capco cars, he's going to be pretty amazing. And from the milestone standpoint, Doug, when he won the semifinals, was round win number 700. 700 win lights that he's seen in Top Fuel. And he's only the second person in Top Fuel history to do that. The first one, obviously, Tony Schumacher. So, he's still running strong. Really didn't look like he had skipped a beat, coming back after being gone for, 139 days. And, their team's going to be tough. Sean's car was running pretty well also. But, the competition level was very strong. We did have a full field out there. And we had, with only 2 qualifying sessions, you end up with some really interesting round 1 matchups. When you figure Terry McMillan qualified third. Congratulations. You get to run Antron first round. It's like, what do you mean Antron? I qualified third. I don't have to run Antron. Yes, you do. Tony Schumacher ran Leah first round. So there were a lot of those matchups. And I think as long as we are going to be in the 2 qualifying session mode, which looks like going to be the tone for most of the rest of the year, I think we're going to see a lot of that. The days when you qualify in the first 3 or 4 spots and figure, okay, first round, all I got to do is not screw up because I'm got my opponent outmatched. That's not going to be the case anymore in a lot of times. So, but it's, like I said, great racing. It was, I think TJ Zizzo deserves a tip of the cap.
Yeah.
One, his car was really running good. Dr. Tony Smith, earlier in the weekend, he said that, they had bought a bigger pump. They had bought some of the new later technology stuff, trying to step up the program. And they did. And his first round against Corey, when Corey's car did the burnout, wouldn't go into reverse. And I was stunned that they waited as long as they did. I really figured, when they were all running out there, I thought, okay, well, they're going to wave Corey down the track or they're going to get him over the wall. And instead they pushed him back. And then all the time it takes to push the top fuel car backwards for 200 feet. Meanwhile, Zizzo is sitting there idling, burning fuel. And, let's just say he and the engine were both getting hot.
Yes.
But then they finally did shut Corey Mack off. TJ ran 377, made a good solid run down the racetrack. So, it's kind of at that point, no harm, no foul. But it's just a shame for Corey, who was so disappointed with the way his retirement tour went last year. So he's coming back. Obviously, he raced for Don Schumacher a number of years earlier in his career. So he's back in a good comfort zone and never even got to hit the gas in round 1. So, that was just one of the little tweaks of the weekend. But, all things considered, it was a pretty good day. And it was one of those things, and Brian and I talked about it a little bit later on in the afternoon. You and I talk about this all the time. Sometimes you go to a race and you just watch a thing, and one of my scales for judging is simple. If this is the first time a fan had come out and experienced NHRA, are they coming back? And I think if there was anybody that was at the racetrack for the first time watching that, if they went, I don't know, it's okay, well, then don't come back, because it's not going to be a whole lot better ever. It was great competition. It was good drama on and off the track, and it was fun to watch. And the show clipped along, not a lot of cleanup, not a lot of downtime, and it was just one of those races. I think if that was the first time somebody came to experience NHRA, I don't think there's any question they're coming back. And in my mind, that makes it a good race.
Yes, Kev liked the helicopter shots for NHRA.TV and, of course, Fox. That was great stuff. Point standings, Doug Coletta leads Steve Torrance by 111 and Billy by 120, Leah 121. So it's really Doug with a nice lead on everyone, and it's kind of a log jam back to 10th. Obviously, no JFR there. And that story, I heard Brian's explanation. You and I spoke about it during the week, which is no explanation yet. Like, we haven't received the John Force, here's why or what or anything. I imagine that's coming at some point. There were so many questions bouncing off me on social during the day, but it's just like until they're ready to tell us, we just have to wait.
And, I addressed it on the broadcast, both on Saturday and Sunday. I didn't put a whole lot of focus on it because the focus is on the cars that are there, not the cars that aren't there. But, as you said, there's no official word from John Force. Here's what we know. They did not enter the race. They were not there competing. As of right now, they are not entered for this weekend, and I don't expect them to be there. That's all I know. And I love the people who go, well, everybody knows. I heard from a guy who talked to a guy. And I said, okay, tell me your official source from John Force and what they said, and I'll go ahead and report that. Well, I didn't hear, not official. Well, I'm not in the rumor business. I talk to as many people as Andy and probably more than most. But if I don't have something official to report, just because I heard from a guy who knows a guy who says something, and it's the same thing with social media. There's always somebody who goes, well, I talked to one of John Force's crew members and he gave me the straight story. Great. Tell me his name. Tell me what he said on the record so I can report it. Because that's what I have to do in order to state it as fact. I have to have it from a credible source that I can name. And nobody, I can't give you his name. Well, right. It's a rumor. And, the fact of the matter is they weren't there. The fact of the matter is I do not expect them to be there this weekend. And they have not issued an official statement. So I don't have anything to report other than they're not here.
I think that's all we can do, and we'll wait for the statement, and that's it. Like, you can't misreport something, and there's consequences to that. So one of our listeners has identified, I think you look great, just like normal, but JT Motorsports wants to know what the temp is like in Hell's Kitchen today. So you don't look like you're sweating or anything. You look good, but what is the temp like out there?
Are you kidding me? I'm soaking. It's going to be 107 here today. And I'm working outside because I'm working on a horse trailer that's too big to fit in my shop. A friend of mine has a generator that went out in a horse trailer, and hey, you're going to be home this week. Think you can help me replace it? Yeah, sure. How tough can that be? Well, the new one's not exactly an exact replacement. So, we're going to have to fab something here and work something. And it's 107 degrees outside. The trailer won't fit the shop. So, yeah, it is going to be plenty warm here today. And next time somebody calls, I'll go, yeah, how's January work for you? Because January, I'll have some time then. But, it's got to have something to do to keep busy. And I've got a shop full of cars here. So none of which are mine. Apparently now I'm in the storage business. But,
that's fine. A couple of notes. Jalen out there just wants to give some cred to Justin Ashley for his 028 reaction time. First round against Sean. Yeah, Justin has been amazing with his reaction times. It's almost next level stuff. That conversation we had last week. Like, he is consistently, when he shows up, able to go out there and lay down some amazing reaction times. And that's right in the area of like unconscious and not possible, but it's close enough that maybe he definitely hits the tree hard. And also, I think more importantly to this show, was sporting a WFO radio sticker on the wing of that Top Fuel dragster, which was very important to me. Sean wants to know if there's more possibility of DSR surprise names coming back to DSR to make sure that there are full fields. I don't know. Corey Mack said that his deal might, maybe if it goes well, be extended if the right things happen with money, etc. I guess anything's possible.
Joe, how many people do you know that as soon as they get the money part squared away, we'll be there. We're ready to go. All we need is the money. I do not expect anybody else to pop out of the woodwork over at DSR, but then, hey, I don't know. They've surprised me before. At this point in time, they do have 4 funny cars and 4 Top Fuel dragsters, which in theory is the max, but on a, fill-in part-time basis, then, I'm sure that there would be leeway made there. I haven't heard of anything. I don't know of anything. I expect them to run the same cars they ran last week again this week, and then we'll see what happens after that. And, we'll see. Like, there's still a lot up in the air as far as exactly what happens after that, and nobody knows for sure.
And Johnny puts out a question. Might as well go there, right? Because now we have fan interaction for this episode, Alan. Now we got to slow us down with all these questions, which we love as long as they share the show. But you'd think JFR owes us an explanation. And I can tell you, I don't feel that JFR owes me anything. But I do think at some point it would probably be good business to let their fans understand the decision, but there might be details connected to that right now the timing isn't right, and that's why a little patience is probably being exercised. But it is a little sticky for them.
I think at this point, John, and this is purely speculation on my part, I think that he is not 100% sure, and therefore he's not issuing a statement until he is 100% sure. And I think it's as simple as that. If I don't think he owes anybody, he can do whatever he wants. He's a tremendously successful, self-made man. He can do whatever he wants. I don't think he owes anybody anything. But I think we will hear from him when he has something to say. And again, purely speculation on my part. But if he's working on getting everything back together and he comes out and says, hey, we're hoping to make all this happen, and then it doesn't happen, well, then you kind of look foolish. If he says, okay, we're throwing in the towel, and then next week the sponsors go, hey, you know what? We saw the trial run. We got this. Let's get this train back on the track. Let's move again. Then he looks silly. And I really think that he, at this point, just simply does not have any solid news to report. And he is waiting until he does. And in the meantime, he's not at the racetrack. And I just want to throw out, Joe, I see you got more and more questions scrolling. Any of them that we don't get to here on the air, if you want to shoot them to me, feel free. Announcer@nhra.com is my email. And if you're going to ask me what the inside scoop is on John Force, I just told you everything I know. So you can save the bandwidth there. But, if there's something else or something about last week's show or last week's broadcast, if we don't get to it here on the air, send it to me. I don't monitor the thing in real time, but I do check it at least once a day. So you'll have an answer probably in 24 hours.
And there you go. And this, speculating, that kind of stuff, no tech, no birthday stuff, but definitely, definitely do that. I understand the fans want to know what's up with John. Fans want to know everything. Like we want to know. People want to know. It's gossip. It's fun. Here's one thing that I'm pretty confident, pure speculation, that John Force loves drag racing and has probably given to and sacrificed as much for drag racing as anybody that has ever been involved in drag racing. So when the time is right, he's going to connect with drag racing and let people understand why and his motivations. It's just is on his own timeline. All right, let's talk funny car. So what do you think? Is it bad luck? Is it WFO jinx? Is it conspiracy that we had 3 DSR funny car drivers on Friday? Great blockbuster interviews. Ron Capps taking us around his pit. Jack Beckman delving into the history of the sport, and Tommy Johnson Jr. from inside his car, not his race car, but his car. And the DSR funny car driver that wins is Matt Hagan. Like, come on, what are the odds of that? We had 3 out of 4. We still figured out how to lose it on WFO.
I really figured that Tommy was going to win it. I mean, if you believe in patterns and karma and cosmic and all that kind of stuff, then it seemed like cut and dry that Tommy was going to win it. I'm not sure how many casual fans realize that DSR has won the last 6 funny car races. The last 6. The last non-DSR driver to take home a funny car trophy was when Robert Height won Charlotte last year in the countdown. Since then, Matt Hagan won Dallas. And then Matt Hagan won Vegas, back-to-back. Jack Beckman won Pomona at the finals. Jack Beckman won Pomona at the Winter National, back-to-back. Tommy Johnson won Phoenix. Tommy Johnson goes to the final. He had to win it. I mean, it just made perfect sense. And then Hagan ruined everything, but including his car. It blew up in the final. I'm sure you saw that. Yes. But the Don Schumacher funny cars right now are running really strong. Tim Wilkerson had a pretty good car. I could tell you, Johnny Lindbergh was thrilled because Bob Tasker's car was running great. And I'm sure he's sick about the fact that, he didn't have a very good light in the second round when he lost to Tim. Both cars ran almost identical numbers. And, it's not like, neither one of them were exactly in the Hall of Fame for reaction time, but that was a winnable race, I think, for Johnny Lindbergh. And I think he's upset that he let that one get away, but that car was running good. Tim was running good. The Coletta cars were running good. It's the DSR cars just still keep ending up on top. It's 6 consecutive races the trophy's gone back to Northfield Drive. It's just in either Tommy's or Matt's or Jack's part of the trophy case.
Now, the Don has put together an amazing brain trust and operation. It's great, and we got some great insight into it. And that show is in the archive. You can go to the WFO Radio app and check out the video, YouTube, Facebook. It's all on there. And I think it's worthwhile, even though now it's in many ways old news, because the race has happened. The drivers all talk about interesting stuff. I want to shout out to Paul Lee. Paul Lee, wow, bummer. But they have a quick and fast hot rod. Like, that car's been evolving. This is Paul's life dream, to get out there and compete. And he was competing and knocked that block at the top end of the racetrack. But they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think.
Paul ran low ET of the event and hit the block, I believe, with the header. I mean, it was that close. And that was in first round, and that was, disqualified him, obviously, from the event. But, yeah, he's got a really good hot rod. And, that thing's making some noise right now, and it's going to continue to do so. I'm sure he was sick about it because it was just so close. But the rule is pretty cut and dry. You make contact with one of those blocks or with concrete before the finish line, and so it's simple as that. But as disappointed as he is, he certainly has got to be happy with the fact that he has a really good race car right now. And so just bring on the next one. I think Paul was probably ready to start qualifying on Monday or maybe Sunday afternoon at 3:00 after the last two funny cars went down the track in competition. But I think you're going to hear a lot more from that team before the year's over with.
No, without a doubt, and good for Paul. He is, a very a Renaissance man. Does so many different things. He's got so many great skills. Serial entrepreneur. Has always dreamed of running a season and funny cars, and now has put that together. And I just want to see it happen for him. He's got a fast car, though. Like, when you got a quick, fast car, you got to make some hay. So it's going to be interesting. I love that push-pull of, like, is it the car? Is it the driver? All right, now we know the car is really good. And I think Paul is going to step up and be successful. Point standings, Jack Beckman leads Tommy Johnson by 2 and Matt Hagan by 40. Wilk is third, 99 back. 4 sitting fifth, but we don't know what's going to happen there. Then you got Caps Alexis, Bob Tasca, who's getting points from Johnny Lindbergh. Johnny Lindbergh his points are going to Bob Tasca because of that rules change that NHRA implemented that we talked and kind of broke the news, at least to the fans, on the show last week. J.R. Todd and Robert Height rounding out the top 10. Cruiser are going to jump into the top 10 after this weekend. I have no doubt. Every round counts. Tommy Johnson Jr. has not won a championship and has been fighting and clawing to win one. The dynamic of the season is very different given that fact. We don't really know when exactly it's going to end. We don't really exactly know how many rounds it's going to be, but you got to make some hay. And he's had a very quick car. Like you said, won Arizona, went to the final round here, and John Collins and that team seem to have a handle on the car doing what they want it to do.
Yeah, they end up, they end up qualifying number one, have to run Ron Capps first round. Like, how does that work? And how that works is that Ron Capps had an electrical malfunction with his brand new car. They were running a new car for the weekend, had an electrical malfunction in the second qualifying session, so they didn't get to make the run. But they were able to take care of business and go on from there. Yeah, Tommy is the only DSR driver that hasn't won a championship, and I doubt that any of the other drivers mention that to him on a regular basis 17 times a week. What do you think?
Wow.
Even Leah has got the Factory Showdown Championship that she won under the DSR umbrella. Obviously, Antron's done what he's done. Tony's part-time, but he's done what he's done. Ron Capps finally got his a couple of years ago. Hagen's got a couple. Beckman. So I think Tommy's got a little extra motivation this year. He's certainly got a good race car. And, we'll see what happens. But I think it would be a pretty astounding story if he could do it, just so you could say, look at Don Schumacher Racing with 6 drivers or 7 if Tony comes back, all who have won championships under the DSR umbrella. That would be a pretty impressive stat about simply their operation.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would drag racing be? I know there are some people that don't like the super teams, but the super teams help the smaller teams, and it's an ecosystem. And if Don Schumacher Racing hadn't entered the extra couple of cars and gone over and above what the Call of Duty is for the sport in this case, what would that Fox show have looked like? Short field, number one qualifier, getting a Byron, that kind of stuff. We had full fields. We had a qualifying show. It was very interesting. NHRA put its best foot forward. And this coming weekend, Dale is out there. He's mentioning that Joe Morrison is entered in the Leverage Racing Top Fuel Dragster this weekend. Yep. Joe, I was actually at the SEMA show, maybe it was PRI. We did the announcement. He'd be getting his license in the Leverage Top Fuel Dragster, and their licensing was kind of shut down due to COVID. He was able to get through that process and is now entered this weekend. He's out there watching the show. Great friend of the show. We might have Joe on later on in the week. I just wanted to acknowledge that the dream to be in the NHRA and run these nitro cars has not been stunted at all by anything. People are still working hard to get there.
Yeah, and you look at last year, Alex Milodinovic, what he did to come out here and make, and then the fact that he drug his stuff all the way to Indy to be a part of the show out there, and that's another guy who's chasing the dream and doing it with a little help from his friends and his family, and trying to make it happen. So yeah, there's plenty of people out there that still want to come, and I'm very grateful to have Don Schumacher and Connie Coletta, and I hope we get Forrest back very soon as far as the super teams. But I also firmly believe that if they decided, if Don Schumacher decided tomorrow, okay, you know what, I'm going to retire. That's it. I've accomplished everything. I'm just not going to do this anymore. That there are people out there that are trying to chase the dream that would come out, that would step up, that would fill in the void. And I hope the DSR is around for the next 50 years. But if they decided for whatever reason not to, I do think that there are still enough people out there, a lot of people that are chasing the dream that would love for the opportunity to come out here and get involved. So I think overall our health is fine in that aspect. We just need to be able to get back to business, get back on the racetrack, get back to providing value for our sponsors, get back to being out there entertaining our fans, and we'll be fine.
There it is. All right, Pro Stock Factory Hot Rods, 22 cars. Was it 22 or 21 out there trying to get qualified? And the qualifying show was great. And the health of Pro Stock a few years ago, people were like, oh my gosh, Pro Stock, I'm loving what I'm seeing. The racing has been amazing. And Jason Line is able to go another year with a win. This is his final year. We started that campaign. I've heard you pushing the campaign that he and Jag need to go another year. I don't know how receptive he is. Did you get to interact with him at all and pressure Jason Line? Because he's going to be on Wednesday tomorrow. He's going to be on Wednesday, 4 p.m., him and Matt Hagan. Everybody set your reminders right now, but I'm going to lean on him, Alan, and I'm going to make it uncomfortable for him to not get back for another year.
Well, it's interesting because I did speak to him. I went and got a soundbite with all the number one qualifiers that I used on Sunday morning on the .TV show. Since we're not allowed to have our normal pre-race ceremonies, which is where we always hear from the number one qualifiers, the fans get an opportunity to hear from them. I took the opportunity to go back and I got a soundbite from all four of the number one qualifiers. And going into the category, it's like, oh, here's what Jason had to say, and just played the recording over the PA. So I did have a chance to interact with him a little bit, but to tell you the truth, we were talking about barn finds and hot rods and street cars more than we were talking about his retirement tour. When he was coming down the return road at one point, and as you well know, in Indy, with the return road, the cars come back up the left side of the racetrack, even though there were no fans on that side of the track, but they're still, they can be seen, they can hear the PA. And so I acknowledged, the run that he had made and said something about, the fact that, hey, we need to, I'm getting behind this. And it was funny that he was shaking his head no, and his wife in the golf cart was nodding her head. So apparently, Cindy has about had enough of him being at home. I'm just speculating, but that's kind of what I got from that. Yes. And I'd like to see it happen. I also, as long as I'm calling people out, I might as well go all in, right?
Do it.
I want to call out Woody from Jegs and Jim Greenleaf from Summit. And more Woody, because I talked to him about it. He was going to reach out to Jim. But at the beginning of the year, I kind of planted a bug and said, hey, guys, if Jason and Jag are both retiring at the end of the year, let's do something. Every time they race head-to-head, right, have Summit put up a couple of bucks, have Jags put up a couple of bucks, and do something. And then the proposition that I kind of pitched out to Woody was, let Jag pick a charity, let Jason pick a charity, and, whatever the number is, a couple of bucks, throw it out there. Every time they race head-to-head, the winner gets to donate. If they don't race head-to-head this week, then it just rolls over. So at the end of the year, they only raced head-to-head, I think, 4 times in all of 2019. So it could end up at some point, whether it's second round or whether it's the final round, that it's like, okay, hey, the winner of this is going to donate, $2,500 or whatever to a charity. And yeah, that's a good idea. We should talk about that. And nothing ever happened. And now in 3 races, they've raced each other head to head twice. Somebody needs to get on the ball here. Somebody needs to make this happen. So Woody and Jim, you guys have each other's phone numbers. Put something together before those 2 race again when we get back on track. Now, Pro Stock won't be on the menu this weekend, so we won't have to worry about it there. But I think it's extra special for those 2 because obviously, the rivalry between Summit, between Jegs, there was a while that Jeg was driving a Dodge, so, they had that going for them. And there's a ton of respect between the 2 guys. But for all the times they've raced, both of them knowing that, we're leaving and the potential is there that I could beat him the last time we raced or he could beat me the last time we raced. And I think both of them want that. So it's fun when they get together. Obviously, I think, both Greg and Eric, I thought it was stupid that they raced in the finals, but, hey, they could have stopped them. And no, the Pro Stock competition, though, from top to bottom was wide open. It was a lot of fun. The fact that you can get involved in Pro Stock now and come out and be competitive has got a lot of people looking at it, a lot of people involved in the class. Bruno Massel out there racing a Pro Stock car. He actually missed the first qualifying run, got timed out on the first qualifying run, which was kind of a stunner. Then broke into the field on the second run, ended up having to run Jaggy first round, and that worked about as well for him as it does for most people that have to run Jaggy first round over, historically. But it was a good, clean, fun day of Pro Stock racing. If you want to get Jason lit up, and I maybe shouldn't say this because I know he's watching right now, but have Michael Heiner do a cameo appearance when Jason's on your show later in the week, because as I'm sure you saw on NHRA.TV, Jason's #1 qualifying run came in the first session, and in the second session, his car wouldn't start. Now, I only know one side of the story, so I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but Jason was, well, let's just say that he mentioned Mike Heiner might have had something to do with the reason behind his car wouldn't fire up. And so just throwing it out there.
I appreciate that. And as everybody knows, Mike Heiner is a devoted listener and world-class crew chief on the American Ethanol car, has been on the show. And so, Mike, there's a good chance he'll be around, bouncing around the internet at that time. And if I were to slip him the link to pop on the show for whatever it is, hey,
I'm just saying it happened. And I never talked to Mike, so I don't know his side of the story. But, when I was speaking to Jason on the #1 qualifier, what happened last night? He says, well, ask Mike Heiner. And I went, okay, I'm not kidding. And, in the press release, he also mentioned that. Anyway, I'm just
I like it.
Out there.
No, I like it. That's why people will watch tomorrow. And I think that is a great deal. Other drivers of note, I just wanted to mention a couple of names, get your thoughts. Like, first of all, Aaron Stanfield and Kyle Koretsky racing each other first round. That is an example of, we're going to lose Greg and Jeg. We're going to lose Jason and Jeg at the end of this year to retirement. But who knows what kind of career Kyle Koretsky and Aaron Stanfield would have. Stanfield, 003, second round, 016 against Erica. The kid is an unbelievable second-generation racer, and he is going to be great. And going up against Kid Chaos, that's cool. You got Troy Coughlin Jr. getting in there, mixing it up against Greg. The future of the sport, Pro Stock in particular, is set up pretty well with these new young personalities getting involved. Mason McGahey, for instance. They're going to take a little while to feel comfortable being themselves. When we get there, battling each other, their peers, I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so also. And, hopefully there's some personal relationships that'll develop there as well, where the guys can talk a little smack to each other, where the guys can show some of the personality at the end of the racetrack. You look at what Austin Prock and Jordan Vandergriff at Top Fuel, they're contemporaries. They kind of hit it off the first time they met, and they love just kind of prodding the other guy. And I think the fans love that as well. And hopefully we can get some of those guys, the guys that are just coming into Pro Stock, to that point, where they're comfortable enough with their peers that they can talk a little smack, that they can have a little fun. And, it's just not, well, my car ran great, my crew chief did a great job, but, hey, I kicked his butt. Did you see that? I kicked, and, we just need that. That's the kind of thing that gets the fans energized. That's the kind of thing that gets the fans engaged. If it's respectful and fun, that's great. If it is intense and real, like Greg and Erica, that's great. But anything that the fans can root for my guy over your guy or girl that gets them involved, it gets them to pick a side. You know, I care about who wins this race, and that is very, very important. So hopefully some of the newcomers will kind of, you know, get on that bandwagon a little bit.
Sean suggesting, I don't know exactly what he's talking about here. The paint scheme. Greg went from the best looking pro stock of the modern era to average or ugly. I don't think that new scheme is ugly if that's what he's talking about. I actually like it. I love Greg's cars. I like it. Those stars and American flag and the whole thing. Like, what's not to like?
No, I like it as well. You know, and Summit Racing is always, you know, red, white, and blue are their colors, and that's kind of always been their look. So, you know, instead of having a red, white, like a red car or a blue car or a white car, which is what the Summit guys have done, you know, they put a little splash into it. It's different, but, you know, I like it, and I'm fine with different. So bring it on. And, you know, Greg would tell you he wouldn't care if it was, you know, neon green with neon orange stripes. If it was fast, he'd be fine with that. So, and it was a brand new car that he brought out there to the event, and it ran very well. You know, he ended up losing to Jason in the semifinals, but no, I think that, you know, I like it, and I'm good with change. You know, I think sometimes you just get so used to seeing somebody in a blue car or in a red car, and you know, bring out something different. You know, Tim Wilkerson's car. There's a lot of people that looked at that and went, wow, that's awesome. And there's a lot of people looked at it and went, dude, you know what, bring back the other one. But you know what, change is good, and the fans will get used to it. No, but I wouldn't call it an ugly car by any means. I think it's got a lot of splash, and I actually think it's got more splash than the cars that he's run in the past that are basically just one color.
Yeah, well, we mentioned Kenny Youngblood on that happy hour show, like the evolution of paint schemes. Things got to evolve, and this with the burning stars or whatever you want to call them, it was interesting and great, and there it is. All right, we are getting questions. We're going to do Pro Stock Motorcycle, but this is a question that's on people's minds. Maybe you have information, maybe you don't. I think I have some information, which is going to be a court ruling in the future, but people are curious about the Mile High Nationals. Like, what do we know? What do we know about that? I'm under the impression that there's going to be a court ruling that affects the facility that is coming up maybe a week from now. Have you heard any other information other than that?
No, I have not heard anything official. I believe we're going to get some kind of a word tomorrow, but that's all I know. I know that there's some friction going on up there. I know that some of the local government feels that the track wasn't doing the right thing. I know that the track had been in contact with the local government before running their events and felt like they were within the guidelines and doing what they were supposed to do. And so they're trying to sort it out. But I expect that we'll hear something tomorrow. I don't know that for sure, but I really don't have any inside information other than it's a typical deal. Well, I heard this from this side and I heard this from this side. I am pulling for the track with all I got. I love the venue. I love the people. How long have we done this show?
Always. Since the XM days, 2005, 2005.
And anytime somebody says, what one track should I go see? Denver. It's been that way for 20 years.
Yeah.
And, just love the place, the people, the family, I just hope that everything gets worked out so we can have this event.
And there's Facebook groups and people standing with Bandemir and, the details of the deal. Like you mentioned, I love the way you said that there's a little friction. I don't want to say a he said, she said, but both sides feel justified in where they're at. And so they're going to sort it out. And I just hoping that we can go there and race because I love Bandemir too. Folks, Alan, the first time I was there, Alan was like, it was really great because he brought me to everywhere that mattered. Come here, come to the Top Eliminator Club. Look at this view. Check out that view. Is that not the best view? Yes, it is the best view. All right, now we're going to the Golden Block Party. They have beer. Do you know where the course factory is? It's right over that mountain. It's such a great race, such a great experience. The weather is typically fun. A shower comes through and it's gone in 10 minutes. It is the race that you got to go see, and you got to bucket list that one. Definitely. If not this year, next year, or in the future. He's right. And he's been around the block enough to know. There are other good tracks, though, and we love them, but that's the one that I think it's just got the most unique character. All right, Flying Ryan.
I'll tell you just one last real quick thing, Joe. Yes. Here's where my confidence level is. I have a plane ticket to go to Bandemir. I believe that they're going to come up with a solution. I believe they're going to find a way to make it happen, and I have bought a plane ticket to go. So I'm
nice. Nice. And that's all we can hope. And by the way things are, nothing is guaranteed. There's no guarantees. We just got to hope, and we got to do the right thing. And setting a good example on Fox television last weekend was a big and positive step for the NHRA and its racers. So good job. All right, Flying Ryan. We name checked him last week on the show. Here's someone who has, you have all these great years of experience down at the top end. I got some experience down there for about 5-6 years. And I remember Flying Ryan's first Gator Nationals, and it was weird. It's like the new kid at school, like the new kid that comes and all the bikes are down there, and everyone needs to know. And the turnoff, the bikes are waiting on their tow vehicle. They're all just kind of hanging out, and they're straddling their bike. They're hanging out. They're talking to each other. And Ryan was kind of like, hey, guys, like trying to work his way in to this group of racers that all knew each other for a long time. And I was observing this. I was like, okay, wow, here's a little ecosystem going on, the new driver. And he always said, man, we're going to do this. And he stuck with it, and they made their own horsepower, and they won one. And I think it's very impressive. It shows it can be done, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he certainly had some good fortune along the way, but he made good, clean runs down the racetrack. And, sometimes that's just what it takes. Sometimes, if you've got all the performance in the world, and you go out there and crush the life out of everybody. Sometimes a good, consistent motorcycle will carry the day. And that's what Ryan did. He was doing a nice job on the starting line all day. They weren't getting out of their comfort zone. They weren't trying to do something where the bike wouldn't go down the racetrack, or where they would do, something silly. They brought it up and said, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make our nice, clean run. We'll see what happens. And what happened was he ended up winning the thing. Matt broke a motor in the semifinals, and they were in a pretty hustle up mode to get that thing swapped around in time to be back for the TV show NHRA on Fox. And then my understanding is that the transmission didn't go into third gear on Matt's bike. But the bottom line is, again, Ryan made good, clean runs down the racetrack. He didn't necessarily bowl him over with performance, but then you don't have to sometimes. Gianna Salinas didn't bowl him over with performance out in Pomona either. You don't have to sometimes. You just got to come up, race your side of the racetrack, do what you do. And if the other team's not doing their job correctly, then you take advantage and you move on. But I think it's great to see another new winner. I don't know if you were watching the live feed of the TV show, but, the last two Pro Stock winners, remember the last Pro Stock race we ran was Pomona final, the Gianna one.
Yes.
The last time we had new winners back-to-back in Pro Stock, 16 years ago. And to think about this, will give you perspective for how long ago it was. The last time that we had new winners back-to-back in Pro Stock motorcycle, Andrew Hines and Karen Stouffer. Andrew won Gainesville 2004. And the next race on the calendar was Houston, which Karen won. And it was the first win for Andrew, the first win for Karen. So it was a really special moment that Ryan is going to be a part of now. And, who knows? It might be 16 years from now before we're saying that again. And we'll be looking back going, hey, this guy's won a bunch of races, a bunch of championships. But the last time this happened was when he was involved in this. So good for him. I think that, I think he's going to win more. I'm not saying that he's going to go out and sweep the field and win the championship. But I think, and things that we've talked about 100 times over the years, there's a difference between believing you can and knowing you can. Once you go out there and go, I have a trophy. This is living proof that I can do this. And that really boosts your confidence. It puts a little spring in the step of everybody on the team. And, knowing that you can do it is big. And he now knows he can do it.
I want to see 3 first-time winners back to back to back. And my money, Scotty. The one now red. He's got a bike that'll run in the 80s, like Matt Smith and those guys. Scotty has bounced around, and he's got a bike that's there clearly, and he's just got to put it all together on one day. And that's my prediction. My Joe Castello super lock of the week is Scotty Polachek is going to win the next Pro Stock motorcycle race. You heard
Michael and I just happened to be on the same airplane leaving Indianapolis on Monday morning, and we chatted a little bit in Dallas. And I said, man, he had to be sick. And Michael says, he goes, I'd rather be 350 red, right? It's just, but he said, when it's 1,000th of a second and you've got a bike that was fast enough to win the round, And then you look at how the rest of the day played out, obviously. I mean, you can never extrapolate everything from that, but it would have at least been in a position. He said, I would rather be 350 red. Just obliterate it, forget it. And because when you're that close, it just probably hurts that much more. But
just think
we'll get one. And the thing is, and I don't know this for sure because, again, I wasn't able to get out and do the mixing and mingling, but I'm not sure that Susan was there. I don't remember seeing her on the starting line. And I think if Scotty had won and Susan hadn't been there, it wouldn't have been nearly as special. So I hope that if that is the case, then I hope that Susan will be there at the next race. And if he wins it, I'll be happy for both of them because they're both just.
Oh, she's got to be there for Scotty's first win. And if that's the case, then that makes sense. The Cosmos will not allow that to happen. And so
she may have been there and I just didn't see her. Because heck, it was Sunday afternoon when I said something about Connie and they went, oh, he's over there. And I went, I haven't seen him all weekend. I mean, and I legitimately didn't think he was there. But again, without the opportunity, right? After Q1, I've got my hit list of stuff that I go, okay, I got to go find out from this guy. I got to go find out from this guy. And I'll go stick my head in trailers and do stuff. And well, I don't have the ability to do that in the new format that we're doing now. So there was a lot of stuff that I probably didn't know that I normally would. So maybe she was there and I just didn't see her. But I didn't notice her out there on the starting line. And I really think about that. It's like, if he wins his first race and Susan's not here, it's going to be like, oh, it just won't be the same.
Let's just go with that. Let's just make it the reality. We'll see. Let's see. I think overall this time we've had our hands on engineering, designs, and motors, and everything will make it interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. And that's it. There are your results. Zach Sackman. Just want to mention Zach. Zach's a friend. Zach and Max Sackman, the Sackman family. Hank Staffer sponsored the show for a while. And that was a big win, good win against the champ, Danny Nelson, which is big. Mm-hmm. Any other things that stuck out in your mind? Heard Warren on the mic doing some good stuff. Final thoughts before we turn our attention to this week.
No, just one note that we talked about last week. Nobody ran the 4-valve Suzuki. As I understand it, there's been a holdup of some of the parts and some of the things because it's not just a matter of changing the cylinder head. Obviously, the pistons are different. There's some other things. So nobody yet has a 4-valve on the property. But no, just that it was a really good race. And I think for people that live in the Division 3 area, if you like bracket racing, you like just going to your local track on a Saturday night when they've got a good show, keep your eye out for the Jeg Super Quick Series because, man, that is mean. It's basically top drags for the 8th month. 450 is the floor of the class. They qualified 32 cars, and the bump was 461. And it was just brutal. The typical 8th mile, 003, dead on 2. That was cute. Get out of the way. And there was a lot of that stuff going on, but those guys put on a great show. So if you're in that area and they run sometimes with the division, sometimes standalone, but it was cool to see them, an opportunity to win a legitimate Wally from a national event. So that was cool to see them out there. And they just put on a great show. So looking forward to this week, looking forward to seeing the Pro Mods, looking forward to seeing the Nitro Harleys, looking forward to see the Factory Stock Showdown as they kick off their season. So, dear Ma Nature, just give us a good day at the racetrack or a good couple of days at the racetrack. We'll take it from there.
I'm loving it. If I was in Indy, I would want to be there this week as well. Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. We just dropped a new Factory Stock podcast. It's working its way through the RSS right now. Drew Skillman, Smack talks Bo Butner out of nowhere. It's great. Mark Powick talks about what they've been doing. Scott Libisher as well. And it's going to be very interesting to see. I know those cars have been running rampaging down the track in some of the NMCA tests. They have different rules, but it'll be interesting to see how the Fords do with that 4-inch pulley. Of course, the Mickey Thompson Top Fuel Harleys are back and pro modified with the new centrifugal supercharger. I've seen them run down in Orlando, and amazing what was going on there in terms of quantum leap forward. NHRA is obviously going to rein in anything that jumps out ahead, but it was pretty insane how rapidly the teams of the NHRA and Pro Mod switched. Like, oh, this is it. We're doing this. And they've all switched, and now they've had months to get it even better. So get ready.
It's always fun when there's a rule change, when there's something like that comes in, because somebody obviously is going to hit it first. And so it just really should liven up the class. And, with you mentioned Bo, he's going to be driving Ricky Smith's car, is my understanding.
Yes.
So he'll be racing the Pro Mod and the factory stock car. If, you need to get Bo and Drew, since they're both car dealers in Indiana, look, you want to do this? Put up, right?
Right.
Like every time Drew Skillman won a race, every Mustang on the lot was $5 off on Monday. He actually told me one time, you can make it 500 if you wanted to. And I said, I'm not going out on that limb. I said, write it down for me and I'll be happy to. But, those guys are both, obviously Skillman does new and used, but, make them, hey, whoever loses has to pay somebody's car payment for a month or something. I don't know, do something. If they're gonna smack talk each other, let them put some money on the line. Let them put it up.
I like it. Well, Dave Kramer and Bo had that $25,000 run that was down in Orlando, and they went through with that. It was going to be best of 3, but then we ran out of time, so they did one run for $25K. And Bo was all in the weeds all weekend, and then out of nowhere, he pulls out an amazing run and wins it. And the $25K wasn't even the big part of it. Like the winner gets to take his team and crew out to dinner anywhere they want on the loser's dime. And so, that could ended up being expensive. But those factory stock teams, they like to talk. They're having fun over there. And we just got to get them going. We got to get them going. Same thing with Pro Mod, Pro Stock Motorcycle going now. Let's get these guys and girls involved in the season, and it'll be great.
Looking forward to it. And looking forward to next week when we've got more results to talk about, another race that'll be in the books. And hopefully next week we'll be talking about the preview of Denver and the rest of the season as well.
All right. Well, there you have it. Alan, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Great job out there. I was highly entertained, but really, I don't want to be watching on the screen, man. So that's why everybody needs to be wearing the mask so we can all get back out there and do the thing. I
understand that. And I do want to say something. You and I talked about it a little bit, but for those who were watching the stream, it was a little bit different. The way that they're doing the live stream, NHRA.TV, again, because they've scaled back a little bit as far as personnel, as far as technicians and that. So the NHRA.TV stream was being taken directly from the NHRA on Fox stream. And we don't have control over it. Normally, if you watch the stream, then you've heard Joe or myself or whoever's in the booth ask the truck, hey, how about a replay? Can we see that again? Show us the finish line, and we can delve a little bit deeper into some of the runs. We did not have that capability. I did not have that capability this past weekend just because of the way that the show was. So, we were doing the best we could with what we've got. And hopefully when we get rolling again, we get everything back up to full strength, it'll be better. But if you want to watch it online, NHRA.TV is the place to go. And, you can try it out. You can just subscribe one weekend if you want to just take a look at it, see if it's something you like. Blast away. And we will see you this week back from Indy with more Nitro cars, and this time with Pro Mod, Nitro Harley, and Factory Stock Showdown as well.
Way to go. Alan, thank you so much. Good job. And we'll be connecting this weekend as we do it again.
Thanks, Joe. Always a pleasure.
There he goes. The NHRA's Alan Reinhart out there in Tucson, Arizona, where it is 108 degrees. A couple of things. Have double-checked the entry list for Factory Stock Showdown, and this is a surprise to me, but Bo is not on the entry list. And that is a bit of a bummer. And Drew Skillman obviously doesn't know that because in our new Factory Stock podcast, he's like, I'm here to beat Bo Butner. So if Bo Butner is not entered, at least at the moment, and I think by this point, the deadline has surpassed. So we'll have to see. But thanks to Alan for coming on the show. Great job watching on NHRA.TV. And yes, NHRA.TV is a must. You're watching at 9 a.m. as opposed to when the Fox broadcast comes on. The race is just about over. You pick up the Fox broadcast, you watch it all again in a different way if you're a diehard drag racing fan, and they're going to get back. A couple other things I want to dial into before we bounce on out of here. Jed Coughlin, points leader in Pro Stock, followed by Jason, 8 points back, Erica, 15 points back. Then Kenny Delco is fourth. Way to go, Kenny. Top 5 in the points, 3 races in. And had a fast hot rod. Bo is 135 back. Chris McGahey, Alex Laughlin, Greg Anderson, Matt Hartford, and Aaron Stanfield rounding out the top 10. And you got a lot of good quality cars out there. So we will see how it all plays out. Matt Hartford, no luck here at the start of the season just yet, but they'll get going again. But every round matters. And so you've got Jeg and Jason and Erica at the top with a pretty much 100-point lead on the rest of the field. And in Pro Stock Motorcycle, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but while I'm looking at you, I'm also looking at the screen. Flying Ryan is the points leader. 14 points up on Matt Smith and 37 up on Andrew Hines. Way to go, Ryan Ayler. Kid is, he's an interesting character. He's got his own personality. He's not a conformist, let's put it that way. And He's gone out there, one race and leading the points. So it's Andrew Hines, Hector Jr., Eddie Krawick, Scotty Polachek, Angie, Angel, Steve Johnson, and John Hall, U.S. Nationals winner, Jerry Savoy on the outside looking in. And there you have it, the points for Pro Stock Motorcycle. And here we go again. The Lucas Oil Summer Nationals this weekend. Yes, Bo is driving Ricky Smith's Pro Mod. Yes, he is. He is driving Ricky Smith's Pro Mod, but the Pro Stocker is parked, so we assume the Factory Stock Showdown would be the deal. It's going to be very interesting to watch it all play out. The centrifugal supercharger combination in Pro Mod, insane. You'll be shocked at how many fewer turbo cars are out there, but it's just the ever-evolving nature of NHRA drag racing and what the right combination is and who likes what and what they think is possible. Nick is definitely right here. Joe, you should drive a factory stock car. Yes. Yes, I should. That is an excellent point. Think of the media savvy that I would bring to the team. And I like to think I've got some driving talent and ability, but the media savvy is really what's going to get me the opportunity. So anybody out there who's got a factory stock showdown car that would like to give the opportunity to a guy who does a podcast for a living, you may reach out to me at WFO Joe on Twitter and Instagram, and I will be happy to entertain the option of driving your factory stock showdown car. Now, we'll make the podcast a little more challenging because I will then have to interview myself, but we can make it work. We can make it work. Speaking of podcasts and such, the audio of this show, not everybody watches this whole deal. It's Facebook, but you can listen to the whole deal on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, WFO Radio. Subscribe, write us a review. We would really appreciate that. YouTube, another place where people get the show. Subscribe, click the bell so you never miss one. YouTube, you can sort out our old shows and unique content coming soon to YouTube. Been looking forward to that. Also, if you want a Nitro Fish WFO Radio t-shirt like this one, the Podfather of Drag Racing 10-year anniversary, wide something open. You can get it at nitrofishracing.com. And I got the word from a lot of people that the trailer was out there and there were shirts in the trailer. Hopefully people went and actually bought the shirts in the trailer. But those of you who use the internet, you can actually get the 20% off promo code WFO20. And we do have more masks on order, so you could be like the great Alan Reinhart. If you want some free stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33084, care of Castello Media WFO stickers. A couple of stamps on it and a decent size envelope so I can fit the stickers. Simple as that. So here's the schedule for the show. Wednesday, Thursday. So we're going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday now. Wednesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Wednesday, Jason Line, Matt Hagan. Already got him locked in, scheduled. Will it happen? Hopefully. And then Thursday, Billy Torrance and Flying Ryan. And how are we going to do it? Or is everyone going to get their own show? Or are we going to do it based on availability? This is the first week, and so no one's really traveling that much, and so it's kind of easy. We were able to dial them in. You can rest assured that WFO is going to figure out the best way to connect with these guys and gals and as they win races and bring you the stories from behind the scenes. It has been a lot of fun, and we have had a lot of fun. Now, in the meantime, we've got an Ignition podcast in the archive, WFO Ignition, where we cover, NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One. We talk about sports talk, it's entertainment. Basically, all subjects are on the board for Ignition. It's more of a, general podcast where we cover different racing. NASCAR's got their all-star race midweek. And so that'll be kind of interesting. I like the midweek races. Also, I was on Racers in Rental Cars with Don O'Neill and Cam Ferret. That dropped on Saturday. So if you want to hear me as a guest on someone else's podcast, check out Don O'Neill's podcast, Racers in Rental Cars. And it was fun. I like being a guest on other people's podcasts because it's like I don't have to do anything. I can just kind of ruin their stuff, pull them in different directions that they're unprepared to go. It's always one of my favorite things to do. Also, wanted to thank everybody who's reached out to me about the passing of my great friend George Rodriguez, radio mentor and great friend back to 1996. And he passed away last weekend and started a GoFundMe account for his family. And so many drag racing people that never met the guy at all, they just know he's a friend of mine, jumped on there and donated a couple of bucks. That's the kind of stuff that Like, it blows my mind. Thank you. The archives are loaded, all kinds of great content on there. Chad Green will be running this weekend. Chad was on last week talking about running that Wilkerson car. It's just been a lot of fun. We're going to get Jason Line tomorrow. Let's see. Final thoughts. Kathy, great show. Thank you, Kathy. Excellent work. And the trailer is re-entered. Yes. As in, they will be selling the gear out there. So if you're going to the race this weekend, let's do a flash mob at the Nitrofish trailer, a social distance flash mob, which I don't know what that looks like, while all wearing masks, and in an orderly way, all purchase the WFO radio t-shirt. I think they will really be surprised at that. It'll be a great gag that everybody will love. And we'll sell a lot of t-shirts. And you just so you know, you got to put the t-shirt on immediately. That's the rule. You can put your t-shirt on immediately. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thank you so much. WFO to you and your families. Appreciate all of you. And we'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Big thanks to Rodax and Total Seal. Big thanks to Frank Hawley and Sam Tech. We'll see you next time on WFO.